Um, I do not have any beverages as well because
You
it's a
drank them
Monday.
though.
It's too early in the week.
Yeah, I got some
Yeah, what
Wonder
beverage is
Woman.
that? Oh, you got some Wonder Woman. Is that her
Hmm.
bath water?
What?
Okay, let's get into it then. That's going to be the intro. Welcome to podcast now, episode 4. I'm Lachlan Rodwell, and I am joined by my favorite algorithm, Lucas Boreham.
What, am I an
How are you
algorithm
doing?
now? Am I
Yeah, well,
LG?
yeah, algae rhythm.
Yeah, nice. Oh, I actually just understood that now. Oh my god. I didn't realize that that
Oh,
was the thing the entire time. I was just like, oh, his name's
okay.
LG.
So we're
Interesting.
talking about Space Jam: A New Legacy this week, and Lucas, this movie was meant for kids. All right, you should have been able to figure out that algae rhythm is algorithm.
Yeah, sorry, that was my bad. My bad.
Totally cool. All is good. Um, but yeah, what did you think of this garbage movie?
Well, first, the quality and the animation and CGI and just the effort put into this film is
Yeah,
huge. Like everything, like the world building and stuff like that was like amazing. Like the all the worlds, the Harry Potter world, the Matrix world,
yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah.
different worlds they went into were superb. Like, I feel like they should have just delved deeper into that instead of kind of just like plucking, you know, all the Looney Tunes characters out of the world
Yeah.
and be like, oh yeah, just some references here and there. But there was clearly a lot of time and effort spent to really, really polish this movie. Other than what LeBron James is acting, but I mean, he's a basketballer. Like, you can't just like think that he's gonna, do amazing at everything.
So was MJ though, and he seemed
Hmm.
fine in the first Space Jam. He was quite charismatic and had a great
That's true.
time. But yeah,
That's true.
LeBron's delivery of every joke in this movie is just so wooden.
Hmm.
He's not acting at all. He's just saying lines, and it
Yeah.
was really noticeable.
Hmm.
Whereas
Yeah.
whereas I think Michael Jordan um, had enough charisma to sell the things he was saying, and he got by. It's like it's Michael, and it's
Yeah.
fine, anything goes.
Definitely.
But yeah,
Definitely.
LeBron doesn't seem to have that same like stardom to him that
Mm,
made the first Space Jam work so well.
exactly.
And yeah, and talking about like the way this movie looks, like the CGI in it is pretty incredible. Like the animated
Yeah.
characters combining with the real people, it looks better than it ever has, right?
Mm.
Clearly, a lot of money was put into this movie, and I think it was like $150 million budget. I'm gonna say something like that. So
Holy shit.
quite a lot of money, quite a lot of money was
Yes.
put into this movie, but I think they um, they saved a bit of money by doing like half of the movie animated. I think that was a very intentional decision. They thought
Mm.
it's too expensive if we CGI the whole thing. Let's have half the movie just be cartoon animated. You don't even need to pay LeBron James to actually come in and shoot. You can just
Mm.
have him
Mm.
record audio, right? So I
Mm.
do think that they um, saved a bit of money there quite intentionally
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the rest of the movie looks so expensive.
Yes. Holy shit. Like Ready Player One. Do you remember that? How
Yes.
there was all this shit going on and it was amazing. Like it was a spectacle and a half. This felt like the same quality had been put into it. Like, all these individual characters at the end when they're doing the basketball game, there's like, all these people
Yeah.
watching the game and they're all like, I think they're all like separate actors, or individual
Mm.
actors, from like all the films and stuff like that that Disney and Pixar or whatever have done, or Warner Bros. Sorry, but yeah,
Yeah. Warner Bros.
I did like the animated parts. How LeBron was animated, I did enjoy that.
I did.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the most entertaining part of the movie is those animated moments Um,
Hmm.
because the movie, for me, I was bored out of my mind until Bugs Bunny came on screen. And then from then on, I was thoroughly into the movie. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah.
you agree, but Bugs Bunny really just saved it for me. This movie
I'm
could have
not
been
gonna
an
lie. Yeah.
absolute disaster if it wasn't for. I think Warner Brothers really knows how to write Bugs Bunny as a funny fourth dimensional, not well,
Yeah.
fourth wall breaking, kind of family friendly Deadpool type. You know?
Hmm. Definitely, definitely. And I did like how they did say, "Oh, we've already done a Space Jam." Like they kind of like I remember Lola
Yeah,
saying something about that, like, "Oh, we've already played basketball. We've already like
yeah. No.
done that. Like, why are we doing it again?" So it is kind of cool how they like mention that here and there. But yeah, no, I do want to also talk about how much this movie just glorifies LeBron James. It's amazing.
I
It's
know.
like
King James.
it's exactly like how Vin Diesel kind of glorifies himself in his the
Mm,
Fast and Furious. But this is even more like at the start where it's like you know um LG is talking about LeBron James being like, oh, he's an entrepreneur.
yeah,
He's a basketballer, of course, and he does all this. He's a family man. He's got it all. And
yeah.
then he calls him King James, and I'm just like,
King James.
King James, wow. And we haven't even gotten to the Looney Tunes part. Like this is before
Yeah.
everything kind of goes all wacky. So yeah.
So LG, right?
Mhm.
Is his motivation, I just want to get abundantly clear, is his motivation he wants LeBron James to be trapped in the server world with him forever because he wants like to hang out with him? Is that the point?
Well, I think wasn't it because like LeBron trashed Algie's idea at the start? He was like,
Yeah.
"No, I don't want to be in films, and stuff. I don't want to be incorporated into Warner Bros. At all." And Algie wanted that, and then he was like, "Well, I'm going to torture you because you took the piss out of like my master plan.
Mm,
So I'm going to like make you play a basketball game with me." And beat you at your own
yeah.
game, I
I mean,
guess.
I could just keep you trapped here right now, but rather than doing that, I'm going to play you
Hmm.
in a game of basketball where if
Yeah,
I win, you're trapped.
yeah.
Yeah, and the thing with algae, right? He's supposed to be an algorithm. Now, I don't know
Hmm.
if anyone who wrote this movie knows what an algorithm is, because they've practically just made an artificial intelligence. And I think this is something that frustrates me about the movie. Yes, it is a kids
Hmm.
movie, but when you look at the original Space Jam, it doesn't explain anything. It just does it. It's like Looney Tunes are now below the Earth's surface. That's where they live. Just accept it. And it's
Hmm.
like, well, this is a
Yeah.
kids movie. I'll just accept it. And then this movie tries to explain everything, like, oh, Warner Brothers has an algorithm, and it's like, well, what does this algorithm do? Is it like picking what movies to make? If so, it's not doing a very good job because this movie should have never been made.
Mm. Wow. Mic drop right there. Holy shit.
Yeah, sorry.
Um, yeah, no, like I agree because yeah, I do agree. Like yeah, the Looney Tunes world being below the ground, you could accept that because like oh yeah, it's a Space Jam movie. Well, no, sorry, it's a Warner Bros. Movie and like cartoons and
Yeah,
stuff. This one was like oh like fucking, it's all in the computer, bro.
yeah.
Like
All of the
yeah,
movies that
that's where
we've
we
made
keep
are
all our worlds.
existing
Yeah.
in this server,
Hmm.
just living their
So
lives.
in the cloud, is that what Apple Cloud is?
Yeah.
Just
See,
like
and
a different reality?
and I think, the comparison to Ready Player One is quite a good one. They're very similar movies.
Hmm.
But in Ready Player One, it makes sense because they're playing a video game. So that's why you can be anyone and do anything. So you've got all of these characters, right? Whereas this is just
Hmm.
like the server world, like all characters just live in the server world. And because it's like,
Hmm.
it's doing this weird thing where it's tying it back to reality. Yet it's
Yeah.
very clearly not the real world. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know,
not
man.
sure.
It's just
I'm not
I
sure.
I was willing to accept everything that happened in the first Space Jam. I'm
Mhm,
just like even like MJ going into the golf hole or whatever, and that's the
mhm,
way he
mhm.
enters or whatever. I'm okay, I'm completely okay with that. But
Yeah, yeah.
just when everyone's being face scanned into the final basketball game, and they were able to do it because LeBron's son created this app to scan people into his video game or whatever. Like it's just
Yeah.
they try to put this realistic filter on everything and try to explain everything, and by explaining it, it makes it worse because it's like
Mm.
it
Just
just
doesn't
starts
work.
meaning nothing.
Doesn't work. Yeah, I think it's linked to, well, it was very interesting. I was talking to my housemate, who actually is like a very big basketball fan, and
Mm.
he was talking about the side, like the kind of feud between LeBron James and Michael Jordan, and how LeBron was like, "I'm making a better Space Jam movie than Jordan
Oh,
did
really?
because I'm better than him," and it's like this, entire feud that's bubbled up about, you know, LeBron just like literally just making this movie, and like I think that's maybe linked to why they want to be like, oh, like it's happening in the real world. Like, they just
Mm.
abducted the commentators at the end as well, which I think were a really good addition. They honestly made the end game.
Yeah, they were
There's like
quite
that
funny.
black dude who was just like being like, this
Yeah,
is insane, but he's having the time of his life. I think that was they were trying to incorporate that to be like, oh yeah, LeBron is actually goaded in real life, and that's why we're incorporating these real life aspects to this wacky movie to be like it's kind of like propaganda. Well, not really, because he actually is really good, but like kind of yeah, just to just push his ego,
yeah,
onto people like or onto kids, I guess. But
yeah.
yeah.
But when if we were to compare these two movies, right, as the original Space
Mhm.
Jam and this new Space Jam, you spend a lot of time in the original Space Jam with Michael Jordan outside of the Looney Tunes world, just existing in the real world, where he's going
Mm.
through his baseball phase, right, and they very much tied it to reality, right.
Yeah.
But this movie, LeBron is barely it's not based on his life practically at all.
Mm.
From when because the issue with the movie, right? The difference between the two movies, the start of the first Space Jam is this beautiful, quiet moment between Michael Jordan and his dad playing basketball late at night, and he just wants to keep playing, right? And his dad's like, "You got to go to
Mhm.
bed, man," and then ends up just, "Okay, we'll have one more game." And that was a really cute, just heartfelt moment. And then this movie,
Mhm.
it starts on like a 30-second quick scene of LeBron playing Game Boy on the side on the bench, and then his coach tells him
Mhm.
off for it and says, "You got to get your head in the game," to use a High School Musical reference. And then he throws
Yeah.
away his Game Boy, and then bang, you're into the movie, and suddenly, you know, like he doesn't actually do any. There's no
Mm.
real his life doesn't bleed into it anymore because it's like okay, he's now got this family, and he's just meeting Warner Brothers now, um, going through the pitch meeting, and
Mm.
the movie just starts, you
It was
know.
just like
So
disconnected. It felt disconnected. It
yeah,
was like, yeah, the scene at the start, how he's young, and also I want to say, was there actually a Bugs Bunny game on the Game Boy? Like, or did they make that up?
I don't, I'm not a big Game Boy nerd. I
Yeah,
don't actually
because
know.
that didn't look like that. Like there's just Bugs Bunny, which literally looked like
Mm.
they got a Mario level and replaced Mario with Bugs Bunny, and Bugs Bunny was just jumping up and down these levels. I'm like, I don't think that's real. And I think that yeah, they just did that to be like, oh, LeBron always liked Bugs Bunny.
Yeah,
He liked him
exactly.
since he was
That's
a
the
kid.
only payoff.
Yeah.
Because the Bugs Bunny video game like winks at the camera at one point, right, well, at the start of the movie. Um, and then it never really comes back later. It's not like Bugs
Yeah.
Bunny always knew that this was going to happen or some shit. No, not
Mm.
mentioned. It was just to set up the fact that LeBron likes Bugs Bunny, which I mean, I doubt he actually does in real life.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that again, that's just on him being like, oh, Jordan did this back in the past to prove that he was good or something. I'm gonna fucking beat him at it. Literally.
Mm.
Like, yeah, it's a very weird feud to do. Be like, oh, I'm gonna like make an $150 million movie just to prove a point or whatever. Or just like get my name more out there, I guess.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah, yeah. The whole thing feels like it's a circle jerk for LeBron to just say, oh, come get me, MJ, come get me.
Yeah,
But
yeah. King James. Watch out.
King James. So I would like to say I do like Don Cheadle in this movie. I think
Mm,
he knows what he's an actual actor, so he actually knows what acting is, and he
mm,
acts in this movie, and he does a pretty good
yeah.
job acting.
Hmm.
And it's quite noticeable the difference between an actual actor and a basketball player when you have
Mm,
scenes with them together, and Don Cheadle's just chewing up the scenes. He's just going for
yeah.
it. He knows he's in this ridiculous, dumb fucking movie, and he's owning it, man. He's doing Don Cheadle.
Very true. I did like the scenes with him, and he did feel like he did come into his own. Like he did definitely like I had no problems other than necessarily like the plot really with LG. But yeah,
Mm.
his motives seemed to be like I just understood from the start because like yeah, Don Cheadle's reaction was just perfect. It was very similar to Brendan Fraser in Back in Action. Like I feel like he just carried that movie on his shoulders, like acting
Yeah.
wise. But yeah,
I have a big issue with this movie as well in terms of I don't
hmm
know who it's for because yes, it's a kids movie, right? But it's also got a million references to it's got more references to like movies that kids would never know about than movies that
mm,
they would actually care about. So it's like they have the DC world, for example, and of course every kid will know the superheroes and that's all great, right? But then you had Mad Max Fury Road, right?
mm,
Not a kids movie. You had
yeah,
Austin Powers, not a kids movie, and not a movie that I
yeah,
think any kid today would know about.
yeah,
You had Casablanca, right? A black and white movie, like that's 100 years old or whatever. Kids
mm,
aren't gonna know what that is. And then on top of that, you also have Rick and Morty. Now, granted, Rick and kids probably watch Rick and Morty, but it's not a kids show, right? So none
no,
of
it's
these
not.
things are meant for kids. And if you look at the background characters of the final basketball game, you have like Pennywise the Clown, right? Not a kids movie. It is not a kids movie.
Mm,
And you have
mm,
like the classic like 60s Batman and whatever. You have a bunch of these characters that kids just would not know who they are or they wouldn't get the references. So then what's the point? I just don't.
mm.
And like having Game of Thrones world, do you think a kid cares about Game of Thrones? So
Yeah,
it's
that
like
has like oh
they've
yeah.
it's like they've made a movie that is meant for fans of the original as well as kids of today. But if you're a fan of the
Mm,
original, then this movie is literally just a copy and paste. Like the end basketball game is identical, right? They're losing by playing properly, and then they have the halftime. They go into the whatever it's called. I'm not a sport guy, so I'm going to struggle with these terms. They go into the locker room. Um, they go into the locker room,
the
and
shower room.
then yeah, where they make love or whatever. That's what athletes do. Um, and I do think there's one funny joke. I did find it legitimately funny when they were hyping up. Okay, we've got Michael Jordan. We've got Michael Jordan, and it was like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? And it was Michael B. Jordan, and it was like,
No.
oh damn. I thought that was very funny. I thought whoever came
Mm,
up with that
mm,
was just next level. But
yeah.
anyway, ignore that. Ignore that. Getting back to it, right? So they're losing majority of the game. Then they go halftime and go into the locker room and they have that chat and it's like, I've been getting you to play basketball properly when I should have been getting you to play basketball the way that you would play it. So go out there and
Mm,
play it the way you'd play it. And then they start cheating and they win. Right? Um, it's the exact same ending as the original. And
yeah.
even down to the structure of the movie where, the first movie's an hour and a half long. And the end basketball game goes for roughly half the movie. It goes for about 45 minutes. And in this movie,
Mm,
it's a 2 hour long movie, and the end basketball battle goes for around an hour. So it's like literally the same structure even. Like
mm,
it's a copy and paste and it's a bad one at that.
yeah. It's rough. It's definitely rough. And yeah, I didn't like. I did have kind of fun like watching how this game like kind of went out. I mean, like all the new points and how the points went to like 1,000 and how they were just
Yeah.
like outright cheating. Like they even were like, "Oh, I'm going to use a cheat code." Like they literally were
Hmm.
like just breaking the game, like breaking the like all what the game stands for. Because I mean, you can't have a game without proper rules, and they were just fucking abusing the
Yeah.
shit out of this game. This guy made out of water just walking through cunts, stuff like that, and the ref literally moving the ring so that a ball
Yeah.
would go in. Like I was very confused because I was like, oh, I feel like I feel like if LeBron wanted this movie to be like about him and how good he is at basketball, I feel like
Hmm.
he would want it to be played on an actual basketball court, with proper refs, not a ref that moves
Yeah.
that moves the basket in the other team's favor, stuff like that. So yeah, it's very
Yeah.
strange, I thought.
No, I agree. So it is again, I mean, the same thing happens in the original Space Jam, but it's just like they've turned it up to 11 in this movie, and it gets a bit
Yeah.
too much. Like the cheating
Hmm.
is like it's in the original Space Jam, it's kind of like funny gags, and in this one, it's just
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean,
Hmm.
doesn't there's the granny who's like does bullet time from the Matrix and whatnot and
Yeah.
stuff, and it's just too
Well,
much.
that
Another
he
reference
he
kids
like
probably wouldn't
he
get
turns
is the Matrix.
himself. Don Cheadle turns himself into like this super
Yeah,
basketball human, and he's just like he's bouncing the ball too fast for human eyes to see. So I'm just like,
yeah,
okay,
and he
like,
and
oh, I thought I was going to see a basketball game here, not like some
yeah,
fucking. Well, then again, it's a wacky movie, so I guess like I shouldn't really be looking for a basketball game in a Space Jam. But
yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
and we have to keep reminding ourselves it's a kids movie, even though
Hmm.
kind of sometimes doesn't feel like it. It's supposed to be a kids movie.
Yeah, but yeah, what can you do? What can you do? I mean,
Yeah,
other than that, I felt like, um, like I just want to go back to the fact that yeah, this movie is just in love with LeBron James. Like I remember just at the very start when yeah, even when he's young, the coach
mm,
like takes a knee and is looking at him as coaches do with young kids, and he's like, LeBron, you're gonna be the best player in the world. Okay, you're just
yeah,
13 years old and you just missed a shot to win a game, and this is like little league basketball, but you're gonna be the best player in the world. You know why? He doesn't give a reason. He's just like, oh, you just need to train harder, and it's just like
yeah,
I feel like coaches don't, tell their kids, "Oh, you're going to be the best player in the world," like just off the bat. So I already knew I was like, "Oh Christ, here we go."
yeah.
It's a good start,
There,
but yeah,
yeah. He was destined for greatness.
a lot of that in this movie. But yeah, what else did you like did you like the son, like his character arc, LeBron's son?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was very, you know, heavy-handed. The themes of this movie are essentially be yourself. Great, great themes
Mm,
for kids' movies. I get it. I think they were just shoving it down your throat though. Like at the start,
mm,
it was like, you know, Dad, I don't want to play basketball. I like video games. And LeBron's like, yeah, sure, it's like a hobby, but basketball.
Mm.
Um, and then like, you know, LeBron finally has like a moment with his son, and they're playing the video game that his son created on summer camp or whatever, and the game crashes, right? And somehow that deletes his character or whatever. And then LeBron's like, yeah, hard work and sometimes it doesn't always pay off. And then like it lasts like 5 seconds and then we're back to, okay, let's go to Warner Brothers. And it's
Mm.
just, it's just I knew exactly where the story was going. I think they did it well enough. Be yourself. I liked how the kid swapped teams at the end. I thought that was cute.
Mm.
I think it's a good message
Yeah.
to tell kids, but it's nothing new. They didn't put any new spin on it, and it just
No.
feels. I don't even know if LeBron like even would agree with like because when he was a kid, he liked video games.
Mm.
So is he essentially saying that he'd give up his entire career to because he was like it wasn't actually I don't know what it's saying in terms of
Mm.
LeBron's.
It's just a mess. It's a mess, honestly.
It really is. The another I'd say my biggest issue with this movie, if I had to put one thing on it, my biggest issue with the movie is Lola Bunny.
Wow.
You know,
Unexpected.
in the in the first Space Jam, Lola Bunny, she's a little thick. Let's just say that she's a little thick. Um,
Well, no, that's when they first introduced her. That was her first
yeah,
film, and how, you know, and that was, I think, was pretty cool. And that's what makes the first one as well, is that they introduced a new character, like, Bugs Bunny's girlfriend, which was also
yeah.
exciting for people to watch. Whereas this one's just a carbon copy, but they took out the part of a new character. They just have all the old characters.
Well, yeah.
But yeah,
They
what,
they
what,
remove they remove her femininity, let's say, and she's a bit, she just doesn't look the same as she did in the first one, and I feel like there's a reason why. And frankly, I'm not
mm,
here for it. Keep keep politics out of my blockbusters, okay? Because this is what politics is, all right? I should be
oh,
able I should be able to jerk off to any character in well, to there should be at least one character in the movie that I should be able to jerk off to, and they don't give it to me in this movie. So
so
frankly,
there's nothing.
keep the politics out of my
There's
movies.
nothing there. There's nothing there for no one
No.
other than there's nothing there for basketball fans because they don't play proper
Mm.
basketball game. There's nothing
Yeah.
there for other people because Lola Bunny's been
Yeah.
surgically changed. There's nothing there for, well, proper kids because they don't get any of the characters in the
Yeah.
film, especially Casablanca. Like, seriously, Warner Brothers?
That was the strangest one.
You might as well put in, like, fucking Citizen Kane or something, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's nothing in it for us because we just pull it apart and shit on it because nothing makes sense. So
Yeah.
who's this movie for?
And I think that's all this movie deserves. Unless you have anything else to add, I reckon we move on because this movie is a piece of shit.
Yeah, let's move on. It's terrible.
Yeah. So to brighten things up, we also decided to watch Looney Tunes back in action.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot this
Mm-hmm.
movie had existed until I was looking up Space Jam, and then I was like, "Oh, I remember this movie." I definitely saw it in theaters as a kid. I definitely loved
Mm-hmm.
it, and it was good to revisit it. What were your thoughts going into or revisiting Looney Tunes back in action?
Well, it definitely has aged. It definitely has aged in like the
Yeah,
CG, isn't as amazing, obviously. Um, but other than that, like the storyline is wacky, but it's like not too wacky to be like I have no idea what's happening. Like they go to
Yeah,
all these lovely places like the Louvre in Paris, which I love that scene in the Louvre where they're all like visiting the different
the
paintings
painting.
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, very good. And like when they go to all the places like the jungle and stuff and find the blue monkey crystal and stuff like that. It just definitely reminded me of my childhood, and I remember watching this movie when I was a kid and just being like, "This shit is fire," because like it's just
yeah.
action packed, especially Las Vegas as well. Like just so good,
Mm.
so good.
And speaking of Las Vegas, they have a I don't know if you'd call it a strip scene or what would you call it? Like a I don't know. It's kind of like this movie is very horny.
Mm,
And that's
yes,
what I like about it is there's no politics in this movie.
yeah. It's in the golden era of films where
Yeah.
like they just
Where
put out shit and you're like, oh, is that questionable? Oh, I'm not paid enough to really give a shit. So yeah, it's good.
yeah,
It's good.
it was I was great like you mentioned that it hasn't aged well, and I think that's one of the aspects that hasn't aged well
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
it's very horny for a kids movie.
Hmm.
I did not
Yeah.
expect that going into it. The
Mm.
main woman is like half naked for most of the movie. Like, and
Yeah. And
there's the
just is all
Vegas
over
scene.
Brendan.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
Oh.
And
Mm.
and also this movie, it does the similar sort of thing to the new Space Jam, where it's essentially just an advertisement for Warner Brothers, and is like, look at all the things Warner Brothers does. Warner Brothers is so good. You should love and support Warner Brothers, right? So
Mm.
it's
Mm.
very overt in both movies, and I think I forgot about that aspect of it when watching this movie. That it's the same sort of thing where you visit the Warner Brothers lot, and in this, in Looney Tunes Back in Action, they're filming like the new Batman or whatever, and you get a
Mm.
cute Batman reference or whatever, and you have all of these references from the Warner Brothers characters, but instead of it being
Mm.
the whole movie, it's just the start of the movie. So
Exactly.
in that way,
Exactly.
I prefer it because it's not like I'm constantly being advertised. It's more like,
Hmm.
it's trying to hypnotize kids into loving Warner Brothers. And instead of doing it for 2 hours, it's only doing it for 20 minutes. So it's a
Mm.
little bit better. I still don't like it, but it's a
Mm.
little bit better.
Yeah, the interactions like I remember the Shaggy interaction, like the
Mm.
actual character from like the live action remake and then the
Yeah.
cartoon one, like having a conversation in a restaurant. I thought like I don't remember that when I was a kid, but I saw it and I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit, like this is the way to like not yeah, like to push I guess Warner Brothers, is give these cool little interactions that you would think would happen, not to just be like, there's the character, they're doing something
Yeah.
cool, and they're gonna do it for the entire movie. Like, just
Exactly.
it's good.
And like in the new Space Jam, it gets very distracting in the final basketball game when you're just looking at all these characters in the background. Right. So
Hmm.
I think the cocaine rampage of a movie that this is, right, Looney Tunes Back in
Yes.
Action, 'cause it was definitely written on just a pile of cocaine.
Oh yeah.
I think it's somehow more focused than the new Space
Hmm.
Jam, given how incredibly wacky it is.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's funny because Brandon Fraser he is playing it more straight, and
Mm.
he's probably like the you know he's not as wacky as a lot of the characters, which I think you need, right? You need that straight man to bounce off, when Bugs and Daphne, fucking around the
Yeah.
entire time.
Yeah.
Um,
That's true.
but I think the best, wackiest character is Steve Martin in this movie. He is so good.
I agree.
He is he's one of the funniest comedians of all time. And in this
Hmm.
movie, he's just nailing it. Like he knows exactly what he's doing it, and he's doing it to perfection.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. I think he plays the role very well. A lot better than he's a lot better villain than Al G was in
Yeah,
Space Jam in that Al G, oh, he was kind of intelligent because he's an algorithm, whereas in this movie, like, the villain's just, like, again, like the movie is just
yeah,
like a cocaine rampage. He's just crazy. He wants to turn everybody on the planet into monkeys. Like, fucking
yeah.
yes, that's what I
To,
wanted as a
to
kid.
buy his
I don't want to be a
products.
monkey.
No, he wants he wants to turn them to monkeys to make the products, and then turn them back
Hmm.
to people to buy the products.
Yes,
That,
that's right. Yes, I forgot about that part. Probably because I was all was going through my head was like, sick. He wants to turn me into a monkey. I don't want that. I want the others to win. Whereas LG was like, oh, I have LeBron James captive.
yeah,
Um, that's it. No, no, the whole world is at risk of death or something like that. But I also liked what did I also like? I also liked that
Timothy. Did you
um
like Timothy Dalton?
this that's true. But this movie was apparently was supposed to be the second Space Jam, but Michael
Well, yeah,
Jordan didn't want to do it, which is interesting.
yeah. So we'll get to it. I've got we're gonna play a game where I'm gonna list Space Jam
Woo!
cancelled Space Jam sequels, and I want you to tell me whether or not I made it up. So we'll get
Nice.
to that. But yes, there
Okay.
was
Very good.
the original Space Jam was incredibly was actually a successful movie, and they were gonna
Hmm.
make plenty of different sequels to it, and they landed on this movie as a reintroduction of the characters to a younger audience, and then they would do a Space Jam sequel after, like a proper Space Jam sequel after this one. Um,
Mm.
and it's I think it almost is a better movie than Space Jam. It's just no, it was just a huge box office bomb, and it killed
Yeah.
the Looney Tunes movie franchise until the new Space Jam. And I think I think it makes sense that it bombed just because it's Brendan Fraser's great, but he's not a massive name, and I
Hmm.
think people like associated these characters with Space Jam so much that like this isn't a Space Jam sequel, so then it just didn't feel like anyone would really be interested in this movie, despite the fact that it's actually a pretty decent kids movie, and it's one of the last kind of movies like this to ever come out.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't think there's been a movie similar, like, since, other than, well, the new Space Jam. So yeah, it's sad, but I guess, yeah, it did bomb in the box office, probably because it seemed a bit rushed. Like, remember reading that, like, the animators for the film weren't told that they were doing a film other than the new Space Jam. They were told that they were doing Space Jam 2, not Back in Action, which
Yeah,
was apparently very whack and very shady for Warner Brothers. So there was, like, it wasn't properly done. But yeah, again, it makes as a great kids movie. The set pieces are brilliant. The characters all react in a great way, and, like,
yeah,
all the fights are very thrilling to watch. And yeah, again, all the places they go are so sick. Like, I remember when you said, "Oh, let's watch this movie," like, my brain filled up with, like, shit, like, because when when you remember a film, you're like, okay, well, like, where they go in that film? Like, oh, if it's Inception, or, like, Shutter Island, or, like, even The Dark Knight Rises, you're like, okay, well, like, what parts in that movie really stood out to me, like, set wise, like, oh, they fucking he's in a pit, the jail
yeah,
scene where he has to climb out of it. Well, like, this film, I was like, shit, like, I feel like they visit every single city on the planet in this film. Like, it's a lovely mess, and I was just so
yeah,
excited to see their adventure, I guess. So yeah, it was
yeah.
good. I
And
enjoyed it.
And I love how they, at one point, I think it's when they go from Nevada to Paris, and it's like how are we going to get there? We don't have a plane or anything. And then one of the characters just pulls the screen and suddenly they're in Paris and
Yeah,
it's like, yeah,
Bugs does. Yeah,
yeah. It's
it's
like, yeah,
silly,
that's
but like
okay.
you're like sick. It's so good.
Yeah, you needed to get to Paris, you got to Paris. That's all that matters. And
Yeah.
yet this set design, I think, of this movie is incredible. There's so much detail put into the sets of this world, and it really helps
hmm
build it out and make it
hmm
feel like a real world in which Looney Tunes characters actually exist. And this is like day-to-day life in this world. I thought it was really
Mm.
cool. And they put a lot of time and effort and money into making those sets and making it look the way it does. And it looks good. Like it looks all wacky and silly, but it's still like a pretty well shot movie. And they knew what they
Yeah.
were doing. And the
hmm
way they integrate the animated characters into the real world, it's it's not amazing because it hasn't aged that well, but it still looks like
hmm
decent considering
Oh
like
yeah.
I'd say probably looks better than the original Space Jam does. Um,
Oh,
there's
100%.
probably just a few moments of wonky CGI here and there, but it's mostly pretty great. Um,
Mm.
and there's a fantastic car chase sequence in this movie. And I was not prepared for it. It's actually
The
very
one,
good.
yeah, yeah. The one in Las Vegas. Yeah, I do remember it as a kid because I remember, yeah, one was the NASCAR and the other one was the TVR. Which I mean, like, sick car to
The
put in
TVR.
this space. Yeah, such a sick car for like a spy car.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I wasn't
It's
prepared for it either. I do remember the crash scene at the end was like, well, at the end of the like
yeah.
the chase was pretty good. But yeah,
I think this movie might have killed TVR.
maybe. You reckon?
I, no, they're gonna die anyway.
Yeah, I guess so. They did make good cars though. Holy shit.
They did. Yeah, and then I guess yeah. I mean to like I don't really have too many thoughts on this movie. It's just a fun
hmm
ride. I mean, I watched it on a
hmm
Friday night with like a couple of brewskis, and it was a great old time. Um,
Few
again, the
brewskis,
actors in
mate.
this movie, yeah, a few brewskis. It's a all the actors in it are fantastic. Again, Steve Martin,
hmm
amazing. I think Timothy Dalton,
Yeah.
similarly to Steve Martin, he knows exactly what he's doing. Um, he's such a funny guy. Like when he what Edgar Wright movie is he in? Um, the police one,
Uh,
Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz. Yeah.
Yeah, he can be so funny. Like he's such an intense human being, and he plays into it
Mm.
so well. Um,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and Brendan Fraser as well. So it's just a fun old time of a movie.
Mm. Mm. I agree. A lot better than what Space Jam was trying to be with just yeah, this
Yeah,
praising LeBron. Like there was no bullshit in that. Like this was just it was like it was kind of like heart plus cocaine plus you know just well it was happy like it was just hot mess on the screen, but it was like it just made you happy instead of um, Space Jam's mess, where it was just like these are things that I have questions for.
yeah,
I was questioning back in action, but I was also like, oh, it's like out downright wacky. Like I'm stupid to question these
yeah,
things, whereas Space Jam 2 had felt like, oh, these are the things that I should question because like they seem like they put effort into being like creating this whole server world and shit like that, and being like, oh, like they put so much effort into like
mm,
constructing it. It's like and like oh we're now abducting people from the real life. This guy with the commentator that was just in an elevator who was like shit
yeah,
like now I'm in this server. It's like what's going on?
yeah, yeah. I completely agree. There's something about trying to explain something. It's better to not explain something than to try to explain it badly, and that's the
Yeah.
difference between these two movies.
Hmm.
despite I don't know if this new Space Jam is going to make its money back. It had like $100 million opening weekend. Um,
No, not during
yeah.
lockdown.
Well, see, it's also playing on HBO Max in the United States at the same time. So, and that's
Mm.
harder to gauge whether or not you make money because it just goes to the streaming service as opposed to going to a specific movie. But yeah, I think this movie is going to be another flop, unfortunately.
I hope it is. I actually like see. Whereas I wanted Back in Action to do well, this no. I mean, I hope that they actually put more effort into. I'd rather them I put more effort into the actual plot and storyline than the way it looks, because I
Yeah,
mean, like we've just seen in the past that people really care about and like a relatable story, a story that you can actually resonate with, rather than oh that's pretty, like the new Star Wars is like, you know,
yeah,
they look amazing, like they honestly look so
yeah,
fucking good, but the script is utter shit. It is disgusting and it shouldn't
yeah.
exist. I would be so much happier if those three films didn't exist.
No,
But yeah.
exactly. This movie, it's a popcorn flick. Um, you know, I in my 1 year of film education, this would be called cinema of attractions, and
Ooh.
it is very much that. It's a roller coaster ride, and
Hmm.
if you should never think about it again, and you'll have a great time. But if you think about it for even a second, then you just go down this rabbit hole where this movie is fucking shit. To be blunt.
Yes,
Now,
I agree.
do you want to quickly talk about Brendan Fraser's career because it's quite interesting.
Yes, yes, we would. So yeah, like this man, this holy man, wonderful
Mm,
actor. Because I growing up loved him in the Mummy movies. Like those
of
movies
course, of course.
were fucking amazing. Like the
Yeah,
first one, huge. The second one, somehow even better. The third one, what you'd expect for the third movie of a franchise. Like it's kind of alright, but it's also like, you know,
it
it's
gets
the
the
third
job done.
movie. Exactly, exactly. But yeah, then I think his last movie that he kind of did before, I guess, radio silence was Journey to the Center of the Earth, I think. Um,
It would
in
either be that or the
2009.
third Mummy. I'm not sure which one it is, but yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah. So
Mm.
to me, Brendan Fraser was a great like action star for children. He was
Hmm.
like Tom Cruise but for a younger audience. Um,
Yes.
he's such a likable dude. And I didn't ever really, you know, growing up, I never really thought too much about why his career went the way it did. I just
Mm.
assumed, he just fell off the radar. And then recently, he's in a TV show called Doom Patrol. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a fantastic show. Everyone should watch it. It's amazing.
Hmm.
Um, and he voices a character in that show. And I was like, oh, okay, Brendan Fraser. I love Brendan Fraser. Okay, and then
Mm.
I learnt about what happened to him, and
Mm.
essentially it was like a series of unfortunate events um, that led to his career kind of going the way it did. So he
Yeah.
he got he had multiple injuries as a result of the Mummy movies because like a Tom Cruise, he would do his own stunts, except Brendan Fraser's body just didn't, it gave away essentially. And he
Mm.
had multiple like spinal surgeries and stuff like that. So then it kind of became a mixture of he's not able to be an action star anymore, and also the insurance on him is quite high, so studios don't want to pay for that. Um,
Mm.
and on top of that, I don't know if you heard about it, but it was like a high up. I want to make sure I actually get this right. Um,
Mm.
so he was sexually assaulted in 2003 by a former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, Um, and he then came public with it a few years later. And
Hmm.
it kind of seems like maybe at least a coincidence that his career took a dive after coming forward with these allegations because
Mm,
the higher ups in Hollywood didn't
yeah,
appreciate what didn't appreciate Brendan Fraser coming forward with these allegations.
yeah.
So it was a mixture of those kind of things that led him to not really having much of a career anymore, and it's quite sad. And he's such a nice
Mm,
man throughout it all.
mm, he is, yeah. I just, I didn't realize that until yeah, I saw him on Doom Patrol, and this page came up on Facebook called
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser Appreciation Page, and I was like, oh, this looks amazing. Like I completely forgot he existed for a while because yeah, he just
Mm.
didn't pop up in things because I would have loved to see him in some actual serious films like some
Yeah.
serious thrillers or some
Yeah.
serious like some actual
He's a
films
good
that could have
actor.
tested. Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Like I absolutely would kill to see like Brennan in like an Inception type movie or like a Memento type movie or anything fucking Christopher Nolan. Honestly, like that
Yeah.
kind of vibe. I absolutely like just I would have loved because yeah, he definitely has this like seriousness to him that I
Mm.
feel like is untapped. And he's a good looking man. He's a very very good looking man. Not yeah, and it's just unfortunate the way things went, which was sad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So he's hoping that he's in more things in the future. Um,
Hmm.
Definitely see Doom Patrol if you haven't already, because that is an
Yes.
amazing Brendan Fraser performance.
Yes.
Yeah, and let's hope good things let's hope there are good things in his future.
I agree. I agree. That man deserves it.
He really does.
Mm.
Okay, to end off the show this week, we each week we like to play a bit of a game. So this week's no different. We've got a formula now, baby.
Wowzers.
Um, so as I hinted at earlier in the show, um, there were a lot of cancelled Space Jam sequels.
Hmm.
There are a lot of different ideas. Of course, the most notable one would be a direct sequel with Michael Jordan. They tried to get that off the ground, and it was actually greenlit and ready to go. But I think the writers, I think it was the writers, they lied and said that Michael Jordan had already signed on, when in fact he had not signed on and he did not want to do the movie. And then subsequently, the movie did not happen. So that
That
was
is a
quite a
huge
dumb,
part.
yeah,
That's the fucking one thing they need
yeah,
to make a
I know,
fucking second film. Oh, that's
yeah.
hilarious.
So they fucked up quite badly on that one. Um,
Mm.
But no matter, they came up with ideas of ways to replace him. So I've listed some of the most notable ones, and these were actual ideas that didn't make it. And then I've come up with some of my own ideas, and I want you to just guess which ones are the real ones and which ones are the fake ones. Now, there's not many because there weren't. I couldn't find that many online of actual Space Jam sequels. Uh,
Yeah.
but there's a good few. So I'll start with the first one. Okay, it's called Race Jam, and it's with Jeff Gordon, who was a famous NASCAR race car driver. Right, that's the first one.
Wow. Wow. What a turn.
Yeah. The next one is Surf Jam with professional surfer Kelly Slater.
I don't know what I think about that. Bugs Bunny surfing?
Yeah. He can play basketball.
Hmm.
He can surf.
Okay, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I thought, I mean, rabbits don't like water. I feel like they're a bit like cats. They just don't like water. But yeah, go ahead. Next one.
What? And they like driving cars.
Well, I mean, even in Space Jam, he was driving a truck. So,
He was. He was.
Space Jam 2, sorry.
Well,
Um,
Yeah.
he was driving a truck full of explosives or carrots, I think it was. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So which one do you think is the real one?
I think purely because there was a NASCAR back in action, I think it was
Mm,
Race Jam. That is true.
you are correct. That was one of the
Yes!
ones.
Yes!
You got
Oh,
one.
I'm so happy. I'm so fucking happy. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
And
God.
you're
That
right. So
would be
w-
amazing.
a lot of the shelved ideas actually made it into back in action. And that was one of
Mm.
them. It was a NASCAR focused Space Jam movie.
Wow.
Okay. So the next one, Soccer Jam with Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay. Or or Golf Jam with Tiger Woods.
Oh, look, purely because Cristiano is probably a bit more difficult to get than Tiger Woods. I'm going to say that Golf Jam, and because golf was in the first one, because he fell down the
Mm.
fucking golf hole. That's easy for Tiger Woods to do because he plays golf like every day. So he's probably
Yeah.
been to Toon World, sorry, not Tune, Toon World like a number of times because he
Yeah.
gets all these holes in ones. He's reaching down to get the ball, falls in. So I think
So
that
that is
Golf Jam is real.
you're locking it in. See, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have called it Golf Jam. I would have called it Cheetah Jam or something like that, where Bugs Bunny cheats on Lola. That would be my pitch for the movie.
Wow. So it's actually more relationship oriented. Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that's what I
I
would
wouldn't
have
have
done.
thought about that.
But yes, that was the real one. So they were. I don't think this one survived very long though, because I think everyone thought Tiger Woods would be a bad choice. Um, I don't
Mm,
know what time this was around, but even then, people knew that he was a big party guy. So
mm.
yeah, I don't know how that one would have worked. It would have been slightly interesting.
Yeah.
I would say I would like to see a golf jam with Tiger Woods.
Yeah. I would like to put his acting to the test because I know, like, yeah, he can party hard, obviously, but I want to
Yeah,
see if he's also a good actor, which should be interesting.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I had the idea for doing soccer jam. I just didn't know which football player to pick, and I thought Cristiano Ronaldo would have been
Mm,
a funny one because I didn't know who else to do. I was like, I could
yeah,
have done.
true.
I was thinking of doing like Wayne Rooney or someone, but
Yeah. No, Cristiano would have been like just like because he's got like I wouldn't say he's got a funny accent, but he's got like
yeah,
a very
thick accent.
very thick thick accent. So I think
Yeah,
it'd be kind of difficult for Bugs to understand.
yeah,
And I feel like Cristiano definitely takes soccer way too seriously. I mean, well, he is like the goat,
yeah.
so fair enough. But yeah, I don't think
Wait,
he would be
hey,
caught
you're
dead.
saying you're saying King James doesn't take basketball seriously?
Well, he obviously doesn't if he's making a movie, just pushing, making people call him king. All right, like I feel like Cristiano would be like, mate, I don't want to make a film. I want to play football. All right.
Yeah,
Whereas LeBron's like,
yeah.
yeah, I can make it. I can make a movie. Just chill.
When LeBron saw one of the test screenings of the movie, his note back was not enough people call me king. So then they had to rewrite the movie.
I honestly, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that's like real. Like, not gonna lie.
And it actually probably could be true.
Mm, mm.
He probably also wrote not enough comparisons to Michael Jordan, and they didn't
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
one.
yeah. That's true.
Um, but yes, okay. So this next one's okay. This next one's pretty good. Okay, Tennis Jam with Roger Federer
Mm.
or
Oi.
Spy Jam with Jackie Chan?
I'm gonna go. I heard something about Jackie Chan and
Mm.
the Looney Tunes. I did. I swear I heard something that, yeah, they were gonna get him to make a spy movie. And again, there are spy elements in Back in Action, but not with Jackie Chan. So I'm going with Spy Jam, baby. Locking it
You're
in.
correct. The three from three.
I'm insane.
You're killing it
Got
this week.
fucking vodka on tap, baby. Oh, there's none left. Oh well, I need to get refill. But yeah,
But yeah, you're killing it. There is one more. And I saved the best for last. It is now,
thank
this is
God.
the most well-known one. So if you have known of it, then it's easy. But if you haven't heard of it, then this will be very interesting.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Boxing Jam with Mike Tyson or Skate Jam with Tony Hawk.
Holy shit! I'm gonna say this on the record right now. I like this is I have no idea. Like this is not like the previous ones where I kind of knew. I'm just trying to think what elements in Back in Action. There was a lot of fighting in Back in Action, but not like
Not a lot of
enough to
skateboarding.
actually. No, not a lot of skateboarding. No. Fuck. They would both be really good. I mean, I would love to see Mike
They would.
Tyson destroy Bugs Bunny, like just
Yeah.
hospitalize him, like beyond repair. But I also would love to see, Bugs fucking grinding up
Carving it
them
up.
them rails, and as well with fucking Tony Hawk,
Yeah.
But I honestly am gonna lock in Skate Jam just because I feel like skating was is more of a sport you'd want kids to do instead of
Mm.
fighting each other. Um, and purely on that, I'm locking it in.
Locking it in. Well, Lucas,
Yeah,
this is the very first week that you got 100%. You've nailed it. You got everyone right.
I'm goaded, baby.
You're
They
so
call me
good.
King Lucas.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No one calls you that. Um,
Um, I'm
but
an
I should say,
entrepreneur and a
yeah,
NBA All-Star basketballer, bro. Chill.
and a family man.
Yeah,
All
and a
right.
family man. My
I'm
three
teaching
kids
my
are
kids
minimum
lessons.
wage. Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, I also wanted to talk about because my other housemate, because we were talking about all these bloody how they're redoing these movies. What are they called when they redo a movie?
Yeah, like remakes or reboots or
Reboots, yeah.
yeah.
So apparently there's this rule, no, not this rule, but apparently there's this, I'm getting it up here. Uh, Walt Disney put a clause in his will requiring that the Walt Disney Company remake classic movies every 10 years. So that kind of would make sense for, the Lion King remake and the Space Jam remake and stuff like that. But do you think it's true?
Um, Look, Walt Disney was a pretty crazy guy. His head is
Mm,
frozen at Disneyland or whatever. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, but at the same
mm,
time, I think Disney looks at what they own and is like, okay, how are we going to make money this year? Oh,
mm.
okay, let's remake Aladdin. Let's remake Beauty and the Beast or whatever, right? And they just keep pumping these out because the other thing is I don't they're definitely making more than one every 10 years, and the gaps between the original and the actual well, the original and the remake is longer than 10 years as well. So I don't know in
Mhm.
what way that factors into it, but they're pumping these out and they're making bank. A lot of them are making bank.
Mm.
Some of them not so much. I don't think Milan made any money, but that came out during the pandemic. Um,
Mm.
because I don't know how much more they can do with it. You know?
Yeah, it's it's well, look, that fact is actually not a fact. It was a tweet made by Samman the Pageu on Twitter in November the 23rd, saying that he was today years old when I found out that Walt Disney put in his will that all Disney classics are to be remade every 10 years so each generation gets to enjoy them. So that is actually fake. Like, Walt Disney didn't put it in his will,
Some
but it kind
guy
of
on
does.
Twitter.
Yeah, some guy on Twitter made that turn into people actually believing that that's why Disney does that. And I feel like Disney would want that. They would definitely publicize that and be like, yes, it's not because we're making fucking bank at the box office and
Mm.
making millions upon millions on the same
It's
story.
our our hands are tied. We have to make these movies.
Yeah, Walt Disney said he owns us, even though his head is frozen. Like he's making us make all this money, or no, sorry, do it for the future generations so they can watch the movie. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
But
just
yeah, I
funny
think there is
how.
a I no, you go.
Oh, I think it's just funny how yeah that it's not actually accurate, but people kind of believe it.
Well, that's the whole
It's
issue
just
with social media. You
mm,
can just say anything
exactly.
and it becomes true. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think there's a broad issue in Hollywood at the moment of remaking movies or rebooting them or doing it because they're banking on nostalgia, right? They're counting on Warner Brothers in this case is counting on people loving the original Space Jam and coming back to watch this one 30 years later when they're grown up and taking their kids to see it. And then
Mm,
they'll just keep making the same movie like every 30 years, and then there's always a generational leap. And
mm,
it's I don't know. Hollywood's all about formulas and making money and whatnot. But I mean, and this new Space Jam as well. I mean, it's literally just a clusterfuck of Warner Brothers properties to just showcase how good they are and be like, yes, we
mm.
have all of these amazing characters, and
Big.
they already did it. It's a giant circle jerk, and the worst thing is they've already done it. They did it. They literally just did it with Steven Spielberg
Mm,
in Ready Player One. Why are you doing it again so soon?
mm,
Because it
mm,
literally was like they looked at Ready Player One and said, "We can do this for Space Jam, like so let's do
mm.
it again." So
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of the bad things of Hollywood and these movies essentially being made on a conveyor belt, and the lack of artistry involved in them.
Mm, yeah, because it is a first for movies to just be like, oh, cool, look, it's Harry Potter world, a
Yeah.
world that we have just stolen. like, back in the day, they couldn't do that. They couldn't be like, oh,
Mm.
you know that movie Casablanca? Yeah, we're gonna put it in our movie because we can do that.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's like today they're doing it because it's fucking old. We can do it, and they did it
yeah,
with the Matrix. Be like, yeah, we own that, so we can just put it in the movie for a cheap laugh.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just uh
It's lazy. It is very
it's
lazy.
lazy. Very lazy. Very, very lazy. The only way I've seen it do well again is in Ready Player One, where like it's incredibly believable, and you spot things out. It's not like it's put in
Yeah,
front of your face. Like it's oh, he has
but
the
yeah.
Back to the Future DeLorean. It's sick. Like it's
Mm.
fucking cool.
But see, that movie was directed by Steven Spielberg, one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. So,
Hmm.
you know, it's like if you're gonna make one of these completely just manufactured movies, right? Then yeah, get one of the greatest directors of all time to direct it, and then it'll actually be watchable at the very least. Whereas I don't
Mm-hmm.
know who directed this new Space Jam, but It just
Let's have a
yeah,
look.
it didn't have a soul. It didn't have a soul.
New Legacy. Yes. It was directed by fucking Malcolm D. Lee. Interesting.
Ah, the famous Malcolm D. Lee. Um,
Yes.
what else has he directed?
Yeah, let's have a look. What else has this man directed? Um, yeah, Malcolm D. Lee movies. Thank you. Fucking. Okay, no, he's done. He's done Scary Movie 5.
Oh,
So,
oh,
yeah.
wow.
Um, and and there's a bunch of other ones that are, yeah. Look, the Night School with Kevin Hart and who else is in this film? I
Okay,
don't
so
remember
he's
because
made a lot of
he
average
got
comedies.
26 on Rotten Tomatoes. Yes, very average director. Very average.
And that helps explain why this movie is just bland and
Mm-hmm.
boring.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so this was a fairly negative episode this week.
Yeah.
Um, so sorry if we bummed you out, but at least we talked about Looney Tunes back in action and how good that movie is. So go back and
Hmm.
rewatch that. Maybe do it while under the influence of something, and you'll have a fantastic time.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
So next week we have some options. Um, the new Rock movie and Emily Blunt movie, Jungle Cruise, comes out on Disney Plus, and it's a cruise in the jungle, and I don't know what else is happening other than they're on a
It's got The
boat.
Rock in it. Remember, it's got The Rock though.
What Dwayne,
It's
and
gonna
that's all you
get
need in a
rocky.
movie. It's
Yeah.
that should be the tagline. Well,
They should pay me for fuck's sake.
they should. It's better than it's gonna get blunty.
Oh, for God's sake. Why is that? Why is that so funny? That should not be funny. That's terrible.
No, that's the
Um,
dumbest joke I've ever done. But yeah, so that's
that's like the joke
so
of Emily Emily Blunt and her sister Emily Sharp.
that is awful.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Or it could be Emily Blunt and her sister Emily Joint.
Oh, Emily Spliff. All right, cut. That's enough. We've done enough. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
reckon we do that. That'd be good.
you want to do Jungle Cruise?
I
So
think so.
the the alternative is the new GI Joe movie came out. I think on Friday of last week. But yeah, again, we're still kind of in lockdown here, and it's going to be hard to go to the movie theaters. Well, it's impossible. So there's no great way of seeing this new Snake Eyes movie. So we
Mhm.
probably will do Jungle Cruise. I'm not looking forward to Jungle Cruise at all. I really could not give a fuck about it. I don't know why this movie was made. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like in terms of a premise, Pirates of the Caribbean and Tomorrowland has a lot more to it than
Mhm.
Jungle Cruise, which is literally
Mhm.
just a jungle cruise.
Well, yes, yes, to explain that to the listeners slash viewers, Jungle Cruise is birthed from a ride at Disney Land, which I have actually been on. Well, I would
Mm.
say that, but they stopped the ride as I was about to get on, saying it is broken. I waited 3 fucking hours and I
Don't
didn't
you
even
hate that?
fucking sit on the fucking thing. But yes, so Pirates of the Caribbean was made like this whole fucking franchise of Pirates of the Caribbean was
Yeah,
made from a ride at Disneyland as well as Tomorrowland with George Clooney, I think, is in it.
yeah. And it,
Yeah,
it didn't
yeah,
it
they're,
didn't do
they're
too
both made
well,
for
Tomorrowland.
it. Yeah, oh well.
So
But
yeah, so
yeah,
they're
so
trying it
this
again with
is
The Rock.
similar. Yeah, they're trying again. They're like, fucking, we got this ride. how about we fucking still have it, make a movie off of it to get people to get on the same fucking ride,
Yeah.
because we're out of ideas.
You're gonna go into this movie with baggage. You're gonna be
Yeah,
angry from get-go. You're gonna be like, fuck this movie. I never got to ride this
yeah.
ride.
I don't know why Emily Blunt signed up for this. Like, I just watched the Quiet Place Part Two actually.
Oh yeah. I still haven't seen it.
I think couple nights ago. It's good. It's actually
Mm.
because the first one is so well done and like
Yeah.
doesn't explain like too much that you like are asking questions, but leaves so much to interpretation that in this
Yeah.
movie it opens up like a few things that you actually wanted to know. But it's brilliant. It's well done. Um, Gillian Murphy's in it. Is it Gillian or Killian? I can never remember. He's
Yeah.
wonderful in it, and
Killing
Emily Blunt does an amazing performance. So yeah, it's worth a watch. But I don't know why
it.
she'd
I'd
go
much rather
from
watch that.
that movie to Jungle
Yeah.
Cruise. So interesting.
Well, I think it's pretty settled then. We'll talk about Jungle Cruise. So get hyped for this movie and this podcast next week, baby. Jungle Cruise,
Yeah.
it's gonna get rocky.
hmm Wonderful.
Okay, so thank you all for watching this week. Tune in next week and follow us on everything. We're on Spotify, Apple, Google, YouTube, and then follow our socials: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also we're on TikTok. So shameless plugs all around. And yeah, just keep on tuning in. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
watching, guys.
Love you all very much. Have a good night, or good morning, or good evening.